did talk to the team, and we have a couple of things that I just want to lay out for all of you and on what the DC bill does. It reduces maximum penalties for offenses like murders and other homicides, armed home invasion burglaries, armed carjackings, as I mentioned, armed robberies, unlawful gun possession, and some sexual assault offenses.
1 year later.
We are here again tonight on the scene of another senseless act of violence. Let me be clear. This gun violence has to stop. It is incredibly frustrating. We know that someone in the community knows what is happening. Please reach out and provide us with any information that we can in order to ensure that our citizens, our residents are safe in their community.
All right, guys, so we got to talk about a story that, in my opinion, is another example of Trump was right, but at the time when Trump was saying what needed to be said about how to defeat crime and how to basically mitigate violence in these inner liberal cities, he was called a racist. He was called a bigot, okay? Trump said, hey, we need to deploy the National Guard to some of these liberal cities, particularly during the George Floyd riots, right, in order to stop crime, right? And again, Trump was called a bigot. He was called a racist for suggesting extreme measures to deal with extreme situations. And lo and behold, just a few years later, okay, we have Democrats now calling for the same thing that Trump was calling for, right? Specifically, this Democratic DC councilman is now calling for the National Guard to restore order in the Capitol. That is how out of control crime is, okay? The Democrats, or at least this Democrat, is calling for the National Guard. Now, I want to talk about this, but I want to go ahead and play this news clip of some of the crime that's going on in DC so you guys can get a better understanding of how dire the situation is. Take a look.
It has been a violent 24 hours in the district. 4 of our neighbors are dead and 3 others hurt after a string of shootings. One of those shootings in Adams Morgan killed 2 men, and another is said to be fighting for his life in the hospital. It happened last night at Ontario and Euclid Streets near the Line Hotel. Our Katie Kairos spoke with witnesses at the scene.
I heard this popping noise, and it was like 10 or 15 like different pops. When I realized, I'm like, that's like, it sounded like a balloon, but then I realized, I'm like, that's a gunshot. And then I saw people running, so I kind of like ran down the alley.
Gunshots ringing out in Adams Morgan, just 1 block from the Line Hotel at about 1 a.m. Brian Calevro was walking to meet a friend in the midst of a busy Friday night when he heard the shots and ran along with a crowd of people.
And I kind of hid under a dumpster. And I just stayed there, and I called 911, and she goes, are you okay? I said, I'm fine, but I was a little taken aback. I mean, it scared the heck out of me. You know what I mean? It was like really kind of scary.
Police say 2 men died at the scene at Euclid and Ontario. A 3rd man was transferred to a hospital. Both roads remained closed for hours. Neighbors woke up and made their way through crime scene tape.
They know that it's changed, like the fabric of the community. The police need to walk the beat. That's really what needs to happen, for real.
Police continue to ask anyone with any information to contact them. They have been canvassing these buildings for hours, trying to see if any of them have surveillance cameras that may have caught what happened.
Obviously, my condolences go to them, and I hope everyone else involved is safe. But yeah, it's not the best feeling just overall, and it's kind of tough all around.
Calevro says since moving to the neighborhood from Kalorama 7 years ago, he's witnessed a sharp rise in crime and been targeted himself.
Well, I was mugged I've been mugged 3 times in the last year and a half. Not like beat up or anything, but they took my money, they took my wallet. Between the Safeway and the CVS here, I mean, when I'm walking during the daylight, I mean, people run out the door with stuff. It's like, it's really gone downhill.
There's a big machine putting the guns out here in our community. If we don't get to that, it's never gonna stop.
In Adams Morgan, Katie Kairos, WUSA 9.
Okay, Katie, thank you. Also in Northwest DC, someone shot and killed a man on U Street. Officers were called to the scene around 5 this morning. Police have yet to tell us who was killed, but we have been told that they have arrested someone in that case.
Yeah, so you seen that, you heard that. People getting shot left and right all over the place in gun-free zone, Washington, D.C., and it's so terrible that a Democratic D.C. councilman is calling for the National Guard to restore order to the Capitol. So Let's read about this, because apparently this guy is tired of burying children. Okay, I think a lot of people are tired of it, but you know, hey, if you come out and you say, hey, I want to be tough on crime, apparently that is racist. Okay, I wonder what's more racist, letting black kids die or locking up black people for killing black kids, right? What's more racist to these people? Okay, I'm trying to figure out exactly again how this works. So let's read here. Trayon White Sr., a Democratic Washington, D.C. city councilman representing Ward 9 in the nation's capital, is calling for the National Guard's intervention in the city's crime crisis. Quote, the crime is out of control and getting worse by the day. We must declare an emergency regarding the crime and violence in our neighborhoods and act urgently. It may be time to call on the National Guard to protect the children and innocent people that are losing their lives in this senselessness, declared White. Quote, I am tired of burying our children, he continued. We are too comfortable with the state of our city. We must take action to gain control and protect our residents. Law enforcement is only one part of how we combat public safety issues. It will take all of us to heal our community. Yeah, so again, Trump was saying the same exact thing about the National Guard. Hey, we need to call in the National Guard to help deal with the lawlessness that is occurring in these liberal cities, right? And again, people said Trump was a racist for that. Okay, it's racist to call the military in to deal with crime, right? They rebuked Trump, right? Multiple Democratic governors rejected the National Guard or Trump's offer for National Guard help simply because they did not want to have the optics of Trump coming in and cleaning up these cities, right? Lo and behold, again, fast forward a couple years later, Democrats, or at least a Democrat, is calling for the National Guard, again, because crime is that bad. They're like, well, seems like we don't really have another option. Is that or continue to let children die? Again, D.C., mostly black city. The people that are probably dying the most are black folks. And then Democrats will come out here and tell you how much they love and how much they care about black people, right? And they'll show their love for black people by building statues of Emmett Till and George Floyd and saying, hey, this is going to help you guys out, right? This is going to help stop all of the murders, the mass murders that occur in these black communities across the country. Yeah, again, that's the trick from the Democrats, right? But again, these people are absolutely insane, and they are soft on crime, and being soft on crime is the reason why we see what we're seeing happening in these liberal cities. Skyrocketing crime rates in D.C. have been accentuated by a particularly violent start to August. In the first 5 days of the month, the city recorded 13 homicides. On the year, homicides are up 28%, robberies up 60%, violent crime more generally is up 37%, and all crime is up 30% over 2022. The city has also already recorded 596 carjacking cases, 77% of which involve firearms. Only 78 arrests have been made in those cases. Last year, the city council voted to lower the criminal penalties for a number of crimes, including carjacking and armed carjacking, but it was withdrawn after Congress rejected the changes. Yeah, so here's what happened. Democrats actually, despite the crime, they tried to be softer on crime, right? In response to crime being out of control. Okay, this city literally voted to lessen the penalties for things like carjackings, okay, and robberies and assaults and all types of things, right? Corinne Jean-Pierre at the beginning of this video outlined the list for us, right? All the crimes that Democrats want to be soft on in response to a crime crisis. This is how stupid Democrats are, right? This is what you vote for when you vote for Democrats. I'm so serious, right? I'm so serious. If it wasn't for the Republicans stopping this from being passed, okay, basically saying, look, we don't want to be soft on crime, because being soft on crime at this point is probably not just going to put, you know, the regular people in danger, right? Civilians in danger. It's going to put the politicians in danger, right? if Democrats are more soft on crime. So they had to overrule Muriel Bowser, okay, who's running that city into the ground. They had to overrule her and the woke Democratic council members in order to stop this from going into effect, which again would have basically lowered penalties for a number of crimes, which again would have made the disaster even worse than it already is. Again, this is crazy, man. Democrats are despicable. They really are. Okay, they're not grounded in reality. These are the policies that they push, and this is the result. Last month, the city council approved emergency crime bills meant to address the deteriorating situation in the city, including by making it easier to detain those accused of violent crimes until their trial. White's call for the use of the National Guard comes 3 years after progressives across the country insisted that Senator Tom Cotton's call for its intervention during the wave of violent riots across the country during the summer of 2020 threatened African-American lives. Yeah, again, I'm trying to figure out what is more threatening to black people's lives, right? Bringing in the National Guard, okay, or the black people that are killing other black folks, right? Again, I'm trying to figure out exactly how this works, because statistically speaking, I believe that the black criminals are the biggest threat to black people, but apparently, again, that's not what these people want to talk about. They don't want to address that. They want to be soft on those people, right? And they don't want the National Guard to come in because they feel like, well, it's a threat to black people's lives. Again, these people are wacky, man, right? They're ass backwards. National Guard troops did show up in D.C. at the time, prompting Mayor Muriel Bowser to call for their removal. Yeah, so, again, that's how bad things are in D.C., right? Once again, we have another liberal city that has basically become a shithole because it's being ran by Democrats. And I'm not entirely sure how bad this needs to get for people to wake up and see that they're voting for the situation that they're putting themselves in, right? They're voting for the crime, okay? They're voting for the chaos that is occurring in these cities. But hey, again, as long as Democrats keep building statues of Emmett Till and George Floyd, and they keep doing all this virtue signaling, talk about how the white man's so racist, Republicans are so racist, this is what you're going to get, right? And it was the Republicans, the white man, right, that actually have kept the citizens of D.C., most of them black, from experiencing more crime, right? Because if it wasn't for Republicans, the city would be in more chaos because they would have been softer on crime. But hey, they got their black woman police chief, right? They got their black woman mayor, right? They voted based off their race, okay, and skin color and sex. And look what they got, right? A woke disaster. Let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a black conservative perspective. Peace.